In a title that plays on Ariel's famous speech in The Tempest, Thomas M. Dish's The Dreams Our Stuff Is Made Of, 1998, has argued that SF permeates every level of society, especially of the entertainment industry. A very short introduction cannot offer a history of SF, nor does it need to, since a number of excellent histories are currently in print. Instead, it will attempt to tie the selected examples to their different historical moments to demonstrate how science fiction has always been an evolving mode. There is extensive debate over when SF began. Some histories have extended their reach back as far as Lucian of Samosata's A True Story from the 2nd century AD, which describes a voyage into space and a form of interplanetary war. Other historians take their starting points in the Renaissance with works like Thomas More's Utopia, 1516, and Francis Godwin's The Man in the Moon, 1638, or in the Industrial Revolution with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, 1818. Two other starting points have been mooted: the late 19th century from around 1870, and the early 20th century when labels like science fiction were first used. The latter position confuses descriptive labeling with the set of narrative practices which would necessitate such descriptions. Origination in antiquity raises different problems of cultural practice, and such examples could best be thought of as SF. Works from the Renaissance or early 19th century are clearly much closer to the methods we now identify with SF, and could be described as proto-SF. This is not to deny their self-evident importance to the evolution of SF, but it is common practice for literary historians and novelists themselves to seek precursors in their efforts to substantiate generic practice. This volume will work on the premise that what we now know as science fiction began to emerge in the late 19th century with a great upsurge in utopias, future war narratives, and representatives of other genres that can be grouped under the SF umbrella. Apart from the expansion in education, which established a commercial base for a number of science fiction writers in Britain, the period from around 1870 through the First World War was one of extraordinarily rapid technological change, with widespread use of electricity for the first time, the coming of aeroplanes, the development of the radio and cinema, and the proliferation of the popular press. It was also a period that saw the emergence of the USA as an imperial player on the world scene, with all the rivalry that carried with the older empires of Europe and Asia. During these years, we see the emergence of a body of writing with distinct preoccupations and characteristics that remains a recognizable, commercially viable, and sometimes very lucrative feature of the culture industry. This body of work became known as science fiction. The eagle-eyed reader will have spotted that all my examples so far, except for Lucian, have been British or American, and this volume will focus on Anglophone writings and will include such figures as Jules Verne and Stanislaw Lem, because they have been circulated around Anglophone cultures in translation. It has become a truism that the USA dominates the field of SF. Although throughout this introduction we shall see the recurrence of H.G. Wells as a formative English figure in the development of science fiction. The majority of the selected examples will be taken from Britain and North America. A final aspect of this introduction should be noted. The label science fiction actually covers work in a number of media. There is a substantial body of drama and poetry. The Science Fiction Poetry Association was founded in 1978. During the heyday in the 1920s and 1930s of the pulps, magazines printed on low-grade paper, science fiction comics made their appearance in the USA, developing rather later in Britain with publications like The Eagle. And then there are the SF games. War games were a special case, with their own history stretching back to military rehearsals in 19th century Prussia, but since the 1980s, there has been a boom in role-playing games drawing on newly available computer and virtual reality resources. We shall see in the